How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dyson Sphere Program. Hope you guys have been enjoying the series so far. If you guys have, you guys know what to do. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Consider subscribing if you haven't done that, as according to the analytics, about 90% of you have not subscribed. So what are you doing? It's free. Help support the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns for me, leave those down below. And with that, let's get into another episode of Dyson. So, as we finished off in the last episode, I kind of realized we need to move some things, particularly power. So that's kind of going to be today's goal, is not only moving it, but hopefully increasing it. So, of course, got to find a spot somewhere on the planet, and I think up here in the northern hemisphere, or at least I'm assuming it's the north. I don't know. It's one of the poles. So we're going to just go ahead and remove a bunch of these wind turbines, as they will no longer be needed, at least for now. I'll probably repurpose them somewhere, but just not where they're currently standing. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to plan something out in terms of setting up the reactors. Figure, okay, we can kind of do a loop, and again, we're going to daisy chain them, so we're going to feed them all off one. My initial thought was, okay, we'll have the reactors here, and then we'll produce the reactor rods somewhere else. But then I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that, because most, or rather all, of the stuff we're going to need anyway is being produced already for us. We just need to scale it up. So I think rather than keeping the reactor production where it is or moving it up here, I think we'll just move it in line with all the other factory production kind of near the end, and we'll see that here in a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, well, we have our nice ring here of reactors. Let's see how many we can kind of fit. This layout here just reminds me a little bit of Iron Man's like arc reactor. I don't know why. We are going to need more landfill, though, to fill up that center portion, just so that way we can try to have as much of a use down there. I also forgot we made some of these arrays a while ago, and I just never placed them, so I figure I probably should. Originally, I was like, oh, I'll just put them on the top, but then I'm like, they probably won't be as effective as they would be near the equator, but the equator is kind of where we have the big shopping mall of production. So we'll put them just slightly south of the pole, which should have some sunlight. That is what it needs. So I figure, okay, we'll just make a ring of these. We have a bunch. We'll do that. Because, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's free power. We're already producing it. We already spent the resources to make the Dyson Sphere, or at least what little bit we have. It's more of a Dyson ring right now. So I figure, okay, well, let's just put these down. Take what little energy we're getting anyway. Well, I say little, but I believe it's producing a fair amount that we're going to need. I think the plan for the factory as a whole, not just this planet, but as a whole, I think requires like 3,000 megawatts or something. So we are going to have to produce quite a bit of energy. Thankfully, most of the energy cost for us is in the oil, which is off-world, and some other components. So on one hand, we're fine. I think a third of it is for sure off-world, and I think another third is just in the system. So we shouldn't be too constrained for power. I mean, currently the factory is not too happy about us kind of unplugging everything. It's not very happy with us. But I figure, okay, well, let's set this up. We already have the reactor rods in the system in terms of requested and transported. We just have to make sure that way we have the robots to do it, which I don't think we do. At least not local robots. I think we have interstellar ones, because we need to transport the rods to the different outposts around the sector. But that's more of just us having some logistical things. And then this little hamlet production swamp right there, probably gonna have to move that, because we need, I believe it's 300 factorizers, or factorization machine. We only have about 100 placed right now. I think we can extend them by another 50, but I have to check the spacing. The only annoying thing is where I built them. They're built like right between 3 areas or 3 zones on the planet, which makes it a pain in the ass because I can't blueprint them. Because it goes, the spacing is different, which I get. I get why it doesn't let you do it, but like, it's kind of annoying. If there's a workaround to be able to blueprint from one zone to another, please let me know, because the only way I found to do it is just manually, which takes a lot of fucking time. A lot more time than I'm willing to spend. And of course, we're going to need more reactors. I don't know how many we're going to be able to fit up here. I just queued up 50 because I'm like, 50 should be fine. But I think the total amount we need is closer to like 500. So we'll definitely have to see how many we can fit on this side. I mean, I suppose if we pack them very tightly like this, we should be able to fit a fair amount. And then I figure, okay, well, let's just connect them all up. And then, of course, daisy chain them so everything goes in a loop. I'm sure it's inefficient. I'm sure it's probably just a constant drain on the system, but I think it's fine. I wonder if it scales exponential. No, because it would just be a constant power draw. Because if it has to keep moving the reactor rods from the previous machine, I'll probably actually go back and disconnect that now that I'm thinking about it, because it will probably not necessarily be a massive drain on the system, but if it's constantly moving all the reactor rods in a circle, then that goes from working to idle to just constantly working. That could be a problem, especially if we need 500 of those mini reactors. Then multiply that waste by 500 or so. So then that just becomes such a big problem. Anyway, so we do need to finish off getting the factorizers going. I don't think we're going to need all of them, at least not right now. Not until we get actual endpoints for the resources to go. Because right now things are just kind of filling buffers up and things then just back up from there. Because until we get science restarted, science isn't happening, so resources aren't going towards that. And until we really get the Dyson Sphere going again, the resources also aren't going towards that. So as of right now, there just isn't a resource sink for us to put our resources in. So things just build up, stop. So it's unfortunate because a lot of the builds just aren't going to function. I also was looking at my notes for my design that I have here, and I'm going to need to put in some of those compactors on both, I think, the input and the output, but especially the output, because as you can see to my left, well, kind of I guess the top of the screen now, the deuterium is backed up, and that's not due to a lack of space in storage. That's just due to a lack of transportation capacity. But yes, so this is one of those builds that it's annoying because it's sitting, I think, right on top of 2 different areas. So I have to manually build all of it. I tried blueprinting some of it, but it was just like, nope, sorry, you're not getting this. And then this is, of course, the example I was talking about, where you blueprint from one zone into another and it gets angry at you and it doesn't want to. And I'm like, fine, I can blueprint here, but it won't let me blueprint down there, which I get. It says spacing, so whatever, fine. We'll take it for its word. But that does mean we have to manually build at least the template we initially used, and then go ahead and blueprint that. But then I discovered even from that, there's still little bits and pieces we're going to have to connect with the belts. I will say one thing I like about Factorio's blueprinting system is it's a little bit nicer for blueprinting like a build and then putting it on top of something else. I think that is a lot more seamless, whereas in this it's a lot more rigid and kind of anal about whether or not something's connected or whether or not something's gonna, like, because in Factorio I could blueprint these right on top and be able to connect, but in this it's like, no. I might be able to if I extended... Actually, I don't know. I'm sure there's a way. I probably just might not be aware of it to get it to be able to blueprint the belts on top of each other. Because, like, I'll go to shift, like, and shift enter, and it looks like it should work, but then it just doesn't. And so then I have to go back and fix a lot of the belting, which isn't the biggest issue, although it is annoying. I think some of the bigger issues I have are just the fact that I can't blueprint between zones. I'm sure it's probably a small inconsequential thing, but I don't like it. I would just want to be able to blueprint everywhere without problems, without issues, without impediment. I still don't know why I have those hydrogen generators. Or I guess they're not really hydrogen generators, they're just normal thermal generators that I use to burn off extra hydrogen. But, you know. We'll probably end up moving to I think it's deuterium fuel rods. Whatever the reactor rods are, we'll probably move those to the end of the bus near green science area. We're also going to need to continue green science. I forget what's holding us up there, but it's something. I just know that we needed power because almost every time I add something to the factory, we start getting brownouts and the factory starts getting angry at me and we're not even really producing anything. Also, question, is this game, like, for the power, is a live draw of power? So regardless if the machine is doing work or not, it's always drawing that number of power? Or is it a dynamic power system where if it's doing work, it drains the full amount of power? If it does slightly less work, it drains slightly less power? Or is it just toggle where it's either on or off? It's either working and consuming power, or it's off and it's not consuming power. Well, I say off, but idling. Or is there kind of like in Factorio where it's working at full power capacity and then it goes back to idling, but even idling is technically draining like some small percentage of power. So even though everything in your factory might be technically off, you're not producing anything per se, you're still draining some amount of electricity because your machines are effectively like waiting for room. And so I mean, I don't know, not that it's going to be too important, but it does beg the question. I suppose you could try to design a base that, assuming you were limited on power, right? Assuming your power generation just could not produce enough, I suppose you could try to do some sort of switching to get like, oh, well, I'm going to turn this part of the factory on, I'm going to turn this part off to conserve energy. That definitely seems like something you could do, but not something that everybody's going to. We are going to need to get more landfill things. Not the brick to put down, but the actual dirt to fill in the land, just because if we're going to be putting things over here, we don't really have the resources. So the best places I found to get dirt or land filling material is in the far-flung worlds that we're mining, just because those areas have relatively mountainous, or I guess hilly terrain, and it's not all water like our planet was. Because our planet was like 50% usable and the other 50% was like crappy islands and lots of water. So we didn't really have a whole lot of like mountainous terrain. However, here on this planet, we pretty much do. So as you can see, we're going to gain quite a lot of earth just from this small areas. Yeah, 400,000 just from the little bit that we did. Now I figure, well, we're also on this planet. It has 82 oil per second, give or take a little bit. Just so that way, I figure, well, we're here, you know what? Let's just connect up the oil. We already have an outpost here, so we already know that things function. Now, we're not going to have enough power, because I don't have enough reactors to run all these things. But eventually we will, and we might as well start mining the oil and sending it back. Now, I think oil production, or rather oil refinement, has stalled because the current home production of oil has been technically enough for our consumption because we're not really consuming any of its products, because it's that whole, well, all the buffer chests have now filled up, thus everything upstream has been filling up as well, and just constant backlog, which is good. So eventually when we do start getting the factory going, we'll at least have kind of an initial stockpile of things. So of course not all the things, but at least most of the things that we're going to need, which then in turn will just allow us to really get the factory going. In other news, we did start a new RimWorld series. Hope you guys have watched it already. I know it, let's see, this video comes out on Friday. Episode 0 of the RimWorld series posted on Wednesday. Episode 1 will probably post on Wednesday of next week. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. We'll start with 1 episode a week, and then once this or Minecraft end, then it will probably take up a second slot in the week. It's definitely, I think, helpful to have a vanilla series of a game, just so that way you can see how the game plays, but also you can kind of learn and begin to understand things. And that's kind of the goal of that series, is just to be a really beginner friendly kind of showcase. It's definitely not the end all be all guide to min-maxing, and it's also definitely not the most optimal guide to things, but I try to explain everything that the game has and really what it is, because it is a unique kind of game. I know it is that kind of management, like colony management game, but it is unique in that there's not a lot of those out there that have proven themselves to be good. And so it also takes just a second, I think, because there is a bit of a learning curve, because it's the type of game that can either be really easy for some people or just really difficult, especially if you don't manage everything very well. And it's gotten complicated enough over the years with the DLCs and just other added mechanics that have come with the updates, that it does warrant a bit of an explanation here and there, which I think to some players, those mechanics, especially if a game doesn't do a great job of explaining how to do them, becomes a problem, because you'll end up failing and dying, and you'll think you're playing the game how it's supposed to be played, not realizing you're just misunderstanding a mechanic, and then going, the game is bad, I don't want to play it, versus, oh, well, I just don't understand that this leads to this, which leads to that. So I definitely don't claim to be an expert in any of these things. I am just a enjoyer of many of these games that you all also enjoy. We all learn together and make great humor out of my terrible choices in games. Not the games themselves. The games themselves are great. It's just the choices I make inside those games that are absolutely atrocious. I'll figure out a way to make a cobblestone generator in Minecraft, just so that I can have a ton of cobblestone that I'll have nothing to do with. But hey, it will be a great design choice. And when people ask, why'd you do it? Because I could. That's why. When I mine out the known universe in Minecraft, and people ask why you did it, I'll say because I could, and somebody challenged me, and that's how that happens. Every time I play any game, when I'm playing with my friends, and they go, you can't do that, that's a challenge, buddy. That's 100% a challenge. Unless, of course, you just actually can't do it, then I guess it is actually not possible. I've been playing a lot of Valorant recently. That game makes me angry. Not saying I'm great, because I'm not. I'm not great at anything. I'm just a passerby in many games, but good God, I hate my teammates when I play that game. I'm sure they hate me equally. The feeling's only mutual. I feel like games that involve teams, you either have to be playing with friends because then you can't get mad at them, or at least you can't get mad to the same degree because they're your friends, or you have to play with just really competent people who know how to actually play the game. But you don't want to play with too competent of people because then you're the incompetent one on the team and then you just get looked down on. So it's a tough balance to strike. But I don't know. Team games I like, they're fun, but I find that people don't know how to play as an actual team too often, which kind of just is annoying. I don't know, maybe we'll make some Valorant content. Not really. I don't know if I like that game enough to do content for it. I like strategy games like this, or like resource management games like this to do content for, because they're fun, they're enjoying, and they don't raise my blood pressure. Well, I mean, I suppose they do if I'm trying to work around a weird constraint for space or something, but I don't usually get mad at a game like this. So that was my week of things. If you guys have a fun or interesting game that you guys are currently playing, or have an interesting story about something, leave that down in the comment section below. I'll enjoy getting a chuckle out of it. Other than that, I will see you guys in next week's episode. Hopefully we'll have green science. We should. We're getting close. I forget what's holding us up. I'll have to check my notes, but we're getting close. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, you guys know what to do. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Consider subscribing, all those fun things. And like I said, if you have any fun stories for me, leave those down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Peace out.